What's up, guys? Unqualified Filmbros here. You got Max, Ben, and Declan. No George tonight, so new host in the chair, first time host on the Unqualified Filmbros. You know me from the rewatch. Tonight we're going to talk about the third movie in the Jurassic World trilogy, Jurassic World Dominion. Um, yeah, I won't spoil what our thoughts are, so let's just jump in and talk about it. Who wants to
Mhm.
start?
Ben.
Oh, sure. So I watched the last few. They're okay movies. I mean, they're not great, but they at least serve their purpose, which is
You're referring to
gorgeous.
Jurassic World and Fallen
Yeah,
Kingdom?
Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom. I think they're Jurassic World is probably a little bit better, but they're both like same level. I don't think they're great films, but they're at least entertaining.
Mhm.
Um, this film's primary problem is they have like a crazy haphazard plot going on that doesn't really resolve anything. And they forgot the dinosaurs. Like there's dinosaurs in some of the parts, but they're not the main focus of the movie anymore. Which
Like I've seen a couple memes about
stupid.
like
Drop
oh,
eating
dinosaurs
bugs.
rule the world, locusts. That's also literally like what the movie is. Like literally,
Literally crop eating bugs.
yeah.
That's the movie.
Yeah, but also like to add on to that, this film is bizarrely sprawling in just how many characters are in it, and I
Yeah.
also I also feel like so I saw this one and I saw Jurassic World. I didn't get the chance to watch Fallen Kingdom
That's
before.
fine. All
Yeah,
you missed is
I
basically that the
The
Isla
girl is a
Nublar
clone.
blows up and the
mm,
dinosaurs escape, and now we're in Dominion where they're taking over the world and you have to live with them. That's
right,
literally it.
right, okay.
And this whole movie, Dominion, is just like they give up. They've given up at this point. It's like
Like
8 years later, and and they're like, yeah, we tried because we created these genetically modified dinosaurs. Now they've taken over the world. Oh well,
I mean, honestly,
there's no movie, there's
society
no
doesn't
plot there.
seem
There's no movie
that
there.
bad. All things could like it's not like it's not like a zombie apocalypse or anything. Just like oh, there are
No.
dinosaurs now and they
Yeah, they
exist.
keep showing things like there are a few times where the dinosaurs impact human life, but then there's other like lots of footage. It's just like dinosaurs, I don't know, eating other wildlife where it's like, I don't know, man. It doesn't seem like the worst thing in the world.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
have to eat. What do you want them to do? What do you want to do? You want to feed
Yeah.
them for the rest of their lives?
Yeah, but like I'll also just like say this in terms of like the premise kind of it's like my big takeaway was that like I remembered the characters in Jurassic World feeling pretty damn thin, and I'm sort of okay with that because I
Mhm.
sort of enjoyed Jurassic World as like it felt like it was a script literally from the 1950s that like that they just made nowadays, like not actually but like it felt that way. So this time around it's like dang, these new characters still feel quite thin, and so honestly my favorite part of the movie, I ultimately it didn't really do it for me. I, as like simple as it is, I think I honestly liked the having the old characters from Jurassic Park 1 in the movie. I felt like they like the three of them
Well, of
had
course,
generally better chemistry and just character than
of
like
course they
Yeah,
Chris
did.
Pratt
Of course they
and
did.
I think
like
I will partially agree with you, but at the same time, it's very confusing. Like these characters haven't been in the movies for 30 years,
yes, yeah.
30, yeah,
and they
almost
just
maybe
come
longer.
back now. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
very confused finding Samuel, what's his name? Alan Grant.
Or Grant.
Yeah,
Grant.
Dr. Alan Grant. And he's just digging up bones. He's a paleontologist. It's like, this is the guy that made all the dinosaurs, but he's just been
Not
hiding out
made him,
here for 30 years.
well, like, he's like a prominent guy who first counted. He's like in the
I just I can't understand. And then yeah, Jeff Goldblum's character is, I don't know, a consultant for this random company. But it's like we haven't seen him for 30 years either.
Was he like, did he have a cameo in Fallen Kingdom? Is that a thing? Or am I?
Oh, you know what? I think he may have had a cameo.
He may have had one in like Jurassic Park 3,
Yeah,
actually,
but
I
it was
think.
cool.
Whatever, I think that one's called The Lost Kingdom. So it's
No,
confusing.
that's Jurassic Park 2, I want to say.
Oh, okay.
The first Jurassic World was just Jurassic World, and then there was
Yes.
the Fallen
No.
Kingdom.
I'm saying I think Jeff Goldblum was in. So there are 2 trilogies, right?
Yeah.
There's the original 3, and
Yeah.
then this next one. I thought he was in the 3rd one of the first trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
But I might. I bet.
Oh, Jurassic Park 3? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I think that's what he was in.
I wiped that one from my memory banks too.
Exactly.
I haven't seen. I've seen the first Jurassic Park.
I will say, Jurassic Park 3 is not a great movie, but at the same time, it does the thing that Jurassic Park needs to do, which is features dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how you mess this one up.
Yeah, like this one. Ben and I were talking about this before you jumped on, Declan. That there is an interesting plot line of bioethics here, but why would you route it through giant locusts?
And you don't even focus on that. It's a Jurassic Park movie that has a side plot of bioethics and bioengineering,
which is a huge underlying theme of all of them, of course.
Yeah, like it's a fine thing to do, but like have them like again having it be about locusts was like semi-ridiculous.
The biggest thing is there is a central plot here that they try to introduce at the beginning about farmers, and it's anti-capitalism. It's like this corporation is basically creating these things to
try to control food, like
farmers, and get control over the grains or whatever they're doing over there. They just never explore it. They never explain it, and that subplot goes away for a weird plot with the step parents for Macy and I don't know, Blue's baby.
Yeah.
That's it.
Like also I'll say like it was sort of weird just how divergent like the 2 plot lines seem to be throughout the movie. Like you have Owen and what's Bryce Dallas Howard's character name again? Claire? Is it Claire? Claire. Thank you. Okay. You have Owen and Claire like here dealing with like the child of the niece of the first dealing with that. Then you have the old characters sort of doing an investigation, and it honestly feels like it's not till like 3/4 of the way into the movie that they finally like cross paths, but then it's still very long. Like the movie felt very long to me
because nothing happened in the movie,
and it was very long. It was like, 2.5 hours of nothing happening.
You had the subplot with all the crops eating, the locust eating crops or whatever. And then you had, I don't know, he's abducted this girl or whatever. BD Wong's character is. I don't know, evil, is he not? He
was threatening in the first 2 ones, right? Because he had all of the influence.
Yeah, it kind of seemed like a pseudo bad guy in the first few, and then I don't know.
Redeemed?
Oh, wait a minute.
He was remorseful.
Bad idea. Maybe I shouldn't have supercharged these locusts.
Yeah, he created crazy locusts, but the freaking dinosaurs that he engineered weren't the thing that got him. Like, oh no, I really messed up. It was
these dinosaurs that are now like the entire world. Also, like, why is there a black market? Like, just a quick thing. Why is there a black market for dinosaurs? Like
black market for anything.
Like okay.
That reminded me of like a scene from Star Wars, and like the way that the people looked and the way that the dinosaurs looked, it reminded me of Star Wars.
That reminded me, the composer for this definitely plagiarized some of the score of John Williams, but not from Jurassic Park, from the Tatooine, the little flutes and like horns and stuff. It's literally note for note some of the parts of the scores on Tatooine. It's insane.
Maybe you don't want to like it when you're going to plagiarize another score. Maybe don't go with one of the more iconic ones of all time.
I was just watching,
like,
wait a minute, I know this one.
like I think though, like in general, I think honestly, if Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard's characters felt like they had like even like a modicum more character to them, like I feel like the movie could have been more entertaining. But since they were just such like flat characters,
the problem is that the movie focused on like a billion different characters.
So like, yeah, like straight up, like
and Chris Pratt's character, all the rest of them just still have flat characters. Even the old characters like Alan Grant and Sally Sadler.
Yeah.
So they have this weird romantic relationship, which apparently just comes back 30 years later. There's like very little scenes to develop it. They're just like, oh, wait a minute. You're a man and a woman who used to have a romantic relationship. Yes.
And Dr. Sadler got divorced and has like, so it's like, oh my God, it's perfect.
So well in the beginning, they're like, oh no, I'm on my own. I know we're definitely divorced. We're no longer seeing each other.
Yeah.
Very forceful.
I mean, it's like I'm happy for the characters themselves.
I don't care because it's been 30 years and they it's like they're stuck in time like the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I mean, they're human beings, right? They're supposed to be, at least.
Yeah. Like, honestly, why? I'll just like come out and say it, like, kind of like, why were the two storylines so separate for so much of the movie? Like,
I could explain this to you. They saw dollar signs and bringing people back, because they've seen that in a few movies now. The Spider-Man No Way Home is probably too late to see that, but they've seen that in a few movies. And they said, wait a minute, we could do that too. And so they signed away a lot of money to Jeff Goldblum and Sam Neill and
Laura Dern.
Yeah, Laura Dern. And yeah, they're just like, well, we'll just put them in a movie.
No, just put them in the movie. Don't worry about like the script.
Don't worry about the story. We'll figure that out later.
Yeah. And I mean, in some ways it's good because, again, as I said, I honestly felt like their scenes I enjoyed more than I enjoyed the scenes with Owen and Claire.
Well, I think part of that for me is just that I remember the scene in Jurassic Park when Sattler and Grant first step foot into the sort of the main area, and they're surrounded by these dinosaurs, and there's magic. It's fantasy. It's beautiful, right? Like you think of that scene with the music, it's gorgeous.
It gives me chills even now thinking about it.
You don't get that in really any of the three movies, but especially this one, and even this one with Dr. Grant and Sattler, even when they're in that like weird sort of BioLife preserve before going to Biosyn, and she's petting the baby dinosaur that was rescued by Bryce Dallas Howard. It's like, oh, okay, well, obviously we know they're gonna interact soon. But I didn't think it would be in, I don't know, an hour and a half later into the movie, but we know it's coming, and there just isn't that same sense of wonder, even from the characters, and that is a huge takeaway. It's a huge drawback of the film, of the entire trilogy. There's no wonder that you get from the main characters.
They don't understand why people like Jurassic Park in the first place, which is just, like what you're saying. It's a fantasy film, and also the action adventure parts, it's more focused on the adventure. No adventure in these movies. It's always some, sub-political plot, black market. The last film was about black markets and like, oh, we're getting these dinosaurs to kill people. No one cares. They're not real, okay?
Like, cool, you can tag people with lasers and have raptors go and kill them because apparently you can't train them. When Chris Pratt literally did that in the first film.
With Star Wars and stuff, you can have some political parts. Some fantasy, you can have politics, okay? With dinosaurs, no, it doesn't really translate. Because there's no dinosaurs in the real world.
I'll say this, like the part like when they showed like I forget if it was a commercial or just when they entered the building, like they have like the CEO of Biosign like just say something to the effect of like we at Biosign wait what's the name of the evil
Biosign.
Biosign. Okay, thank you. Biosign, like, we at Biosign believe that dinosaurs can teach us about ourselves more than like it's something that it felt like a parody of.
Oh my God,
like,
Dodgson felt like a parody. He felt like satire. The way that he moved, it was like a cross between Steve Jobs, literally any billionaire company owner, where he has like the nervous sort of mannerisms and just the way that he would move around.
Even his haircut,
haircut and the glasses.
He didn't feel like a human being to me.
No,
it's just like
when he asked Ramsey
money.
When he asked Ramsey for food, and he was like, "Do you have one of my power bars? Like that's his meal for the day."
Oh yeah, that was so weird. Food? What? That's the first thing I thought.
They didn't develop the idea much at all, but I did like the initial joke setting. What you think is setting up some sort of storyline, where it's like Ramsey is just like me, except he's taller, and like that was decently funny.
I thought he was gonna go somewhere else. I honestly thought he was gonna be like, "Oh yeah, but he's black." And
yeah. Like
that's
like
what?
See, that's the thing is that it seems like that's where. If it was a joke, that's where they were going. But
yes, like, I think the joke was he feels awkward.
I feel like
and avoid saying that he's black. Like that's sort of like
could make that funny, but you need proper comedic timing. This was just like he was like awkward.
Yeah, and then it just like
tall and
at the very end, it's like I'm actually not like you, and then he gets eaten by dinosaurs.
Awkward. Like if you're writing that to be a joke, you need to direct that as a joke. That was not directed as a joke.
Like you could imagine, like I'm just saying, you could imagine like Michael Scott from The Office doing like a joke, like
yeah. I mean, plenty of people have done that joke. The joke normally goes is that like the guy, he's trying to say something, like an awkward like something, but this one just he doesn't do anything. It's just like you're tall and you're smart.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, no. That's the scene. It doesn't go anywhere. I mean, you need like some awkward pause or something if you're gonna make that a joke.
Or like a cut to to a reaction by one of the other characters to show how awkward it is.
It felt like they thought the audience would just get the joke and like infer the rest of it, but that's not what a joke is. I mean,
oh my gosh, I feel like much like the awkwardness of the joke that ultimately didn't pan out. Like I feel like honestly the movie's main problem for me is that it just felt like so long and overstuffed with stuff that
nothing happened.
It became boring. Like as you said, Max, without the fact that it didn't have like any of the magic of the original, and I'm not even a massive Jurassic Park person. I mean, I like it, well enough, but I wouldn't put it in like Steven Spielberg's top 5, and I have a lot of opinions about that. But like the fact that it just didn't capture any of that, and then also didn't have like good like set pieces at the very least to make it somewhat entertaining. I feel like it just kind of became like the only parts that were like sort of like, oh, this is kind of fun is like seeing Malcolm and Alan and like them just interacting, and that's just purely because of like, oh, I like them in Jurassic Park and they're still like good actors, so it's still kind of entertaining.
I found it extremely strange that for what is this, like the 6th sequel in the Jurassic Park series, third sequel in the World series, they spent about 45 minutes doing setup for a non-existent plot.
How many times they had like a location like text, like it's literally like
none of this matters. What matters there?
Like why did they put
it all happens in like one space.
It it started to become
You
more
got a
of
plane
like,
crash that doesn't really matter. I mean, that's the thing, is like nothing happens, and the things that happen don't matter.
Mhm.
And you have like all these characters and nothing matters. It's like, why am I watching this? You
Like
have plane
in a
crashes, like, okay,
Jurassic Park
obviously
movie,
that's-
I should be on the edge of my seat
Mhm.
thinking like, oh shit, what's happening next? Like not once did I flinch in this movie. And it was loud, right? Like it was a really loud, it's a loud movie. It's a loud franchise with dinosaurs and explosions and all this great stuff that's supposed to happen. I was sitting there just like, okay. Oh, all right, cool.
Like there were moments where I became literally tired. I felt like I somehow
I
while
saw
watching a
kids in the
Jurassic
front
Park
seat,
movie,
they're all asleep in the first
felt
like 40
tired.
minutes. Like literally, the kids in the row above me, there were like 4 kids. They were all asleep in the first 40 minutes. They weren't even watching. They just got bored.
like
How do you do that?
that's amazing. That's kind of amazing.
I am truly dumbfounded how they took Jurassic Park and put kids to sleep.
I feel like the fact that there was a Minions, like I shit you not, a Minion.
Everyone was loving the Minions ad.
The Minions trailer looked great
beforehand. Like that it's like okay, so clearly like, and it's totally fine for this to be the case. I'm not against this, but it's like okay, so clearly kids are an intended demographic of the movie. So the fact that like, I mean, obviously just an anecdote, but the fact that you had 4 kids get bored while watching, it's like, oh my gosh, what is the movie for? Like, who's like? I mean,
it's not like we have dinosaurs running around. It's not like we're in the movie and we can go out and like look at a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, one of the funniest parts for me was opening on a Now This News as like the be all sort of news agency or whatever. And like, yes, Now This is good and they do good work and everything, but you wouldn't pick like CNN or
it's like it was so I feel like it was well made, but I do agree.
It was, but like it just gave them an excuse to have like a narrator's voice. But that's the thing. Why do you need a narrator? Like, why do you need that format of a Now This news piece? Why do you need that?
Like it's like the primary thing is like it's like they were trying to portray it as if it happened in the real world. But again, there's the problem here. Dinosaurs don't exist. I get it. Okay. Yes, we want to politicize and contextualize everything in our modern environment. The original movie did that pretty well with like the boundaries of science.
Sure.
But what are you doing here? I mean, if there's no plot going on, and you have a few plots, but they're so fantastical, like the locust. Not
like I'll say this. There's apparently a quote by Trevorrow, something to the effect of like, we asked ourselves with this movie, what if dinosaurs walked around on Earth now, or something? Like, it was something kind of ridiculous, and people were like making memes about it. But I feel like again, it's like
but then make a movie about living with dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Don't take us to another like isolated area.
You need to lean into the fantasy to a certain extent. Yet, if you want to politicize something, I mean, Star Wars, like I brought it up before, Star Trek, they're both heavily fantastical ideas, but heavily political. You have to have a mix of both. There's no fantasy in this, and quite frankly, there's no plot, there's no politics, there's no argument that is being said other than like, I don't know.
There's kind of Malcolm going like, oh, we need to not do this.
There is the subtle point against like big corporations and farming that's largely abandoned for most of the movie. Like I was talking with Max about this before. So there's Monsanto, a big case for agriculture, which is essentially a much more realistic take on this, which is they genetically engineer, I believe it was corn. And they basically sued farmers for like stealing their corn because it was an invasive species and the genetics, I guess,
and it was breaking copyright laws.
As Monsanto's corn. So that's interesting. But locusts giant locusts. It's not realistic. And if you're going to tell me, what if dinosaurs roam the earth? I have a feeling that the people who have been doing agriculture for so long are not going to use giant locusts to make sure they're the controller of the world's supply of grain. Like,
yeah, especially with how volatile that would be. Yeah. Like why wouldn't they engineer the seed? Like that makes no sense.
because it happened in our world. So you're telling me in a world where they can clone dinosaurs, that wouldn't be still the primary way to do it? You're telling me that the guy in Biosyn, which is basically their Monsanto, this big corporation, decided that was the way to go about it. It's insane.
It's like it had like I feel like somehow the script feels like it was written 8 different times, but also like that also felt like the case with Jurassic World. Like it's like did Carlin Trevorrow actually write 8 different scripts each time and then combine them all together at the end? Like
I don't
know.
Just wrote a few different scripts, and it's like the Arnold Schwarzenegger scene in the Simpsons movie. He just like picks randomly.
President Schwarzenegger.
I was elected to lead, not to lead.
I picked number 3. Don't you want to read them, sir? I was elected to lead, not to read. And then he later switches to like, shouldn't I read these first? Like, no, just pick the third one. Simpsons movie. That's pretty good.
The Simpsons movie had much better politics than this one.
Much better politics and a much more clear story about the characters involved in it. And the story isn't even perfect. It's like, but it is better than Jurassic World Dominion's general story.
Yeah, but you're looking for different things, right? Like you're not looking for a great story necessarily in the Simpsons movie. You're not really looking for a great story in Jurassic World Dominion either. But, it's a trilogy, right? Like you expect there to be something that is common, that isn't just like, oh, we're actually going to make a sequel to the movie. There has to be some stuff that sort of draws it together. And there isn't that in this movie. So before we end here, any final thoughts from either of you two?
I will say my final thought is one of the most important things about Jurassic Park was you go to the park, right? You see the dinosaurs. There is a very limiting factor when you release them all onto the world, and they're everywhere. You just see them all the time, so they become not a wonder anymore. You've lost the entire point of Jurassic Park, and you replaced it with a half-baked plot about locust eating crops. Not good.
What I'll say is I didn't have much. I like this film just wasn't really on my radar until we decided to do it for the podcast episode. So I was like had very middling to low expectations going in, and it still fell below them, is what I'll say. So take that for what you will.
Well, that's definitely not a ringing endorsement at all. But my final thought is just look at the Planet of the Apes reboot trilogy, right? Look at what they did with bioethics. Look at what they did with the domination of another creature that is non-human, right? And they did it really, really well. Those 3 movies are coherent. They have a great story, and it ended, right? They didn't feel the need to draw it out. Honestly, this trilogy could have just been a solo reboot movie and just been like, oh, this was a lot of fun to make. Like, cool, we did a good job. But the Planet of the Apes reboot, they had great storylines. And it follows a lot of the same things that Jurassic Park does. It didn't fall into the same traps. So I would recommend that trilogy over the Jurassic World trilogy. And that's all I'll say. But until next week, this is the Unqualified Film Bros, and we'll see you next time. All right. Bye.
Bye.